Most people are saving 3% and thinking they're going to have enough for retirement. There's no way you're going to have $1 million of today's dollars, much less $1 million of tomorrow's dollars. And so if you are not that person that wants to have a cash flowing asset, that wants to run a business, that's okay. You just need to start saving more money. And you should probably put it in a tool that does not have interrupted growth. You might want to put it in something that has some steady growth to it. Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. Thank you very much for being here. Are you ready, Tarisa, to get eaten alive? Because we're going to talk about Dave Ramsey.
Good old Dave.
I would call him something else, but it seems to offend the Dave followers. There's a lot of good. I probably agree with 99% of everything that Dave says and Dave does. And he's actually an amazing business coach. I really do like that part of Dave. But this is the part that makes people mad.
That's okay. It's fun to stir the pot a little bit.
Oh, y'all, this is spoken from an individual who has yet to have her face on Facebook being torn apart. Just this morning, I do believe we have another post out there about me talking about Dave or retirement, and I was called a dummy again. So if you guys this is funny, if you're listening to this podcast and you see any of my posts on Facebook, maybe Facebook is mad at me, I'm not sure. But I am on a mission to stop every keyboard warrior and let them know that I actually read the comments. And if you're going to call me names, like I read that. And so I'm going to comment back to you. And I'm not going to be super mean like you are, but I am going to let you know I'm a human and I read that. And so, or if you talk about me in third person, like I'm not there, like this lady just likes to hear herself talk. Really? Okay. Somebody said that and I commented and said, well, some people think that's education, but apparently not everyone.
It's amazing.
Then I do believe that gentleman came back and said something else like, oh crap, she read that. I didn't expect for her to be a human as I'm clicking away on my keyboard warrior stuff. So this is going to be a hot topic, but I'm going to have my screenshot put on the screen of this post that I saw on social media. And Dave said, if you are 25 years old and you retire at 65 and you save $100 a month, you will have $1.176 million. You'll be a millionaire. It's only going to take you 40 years. You're going to be a millionaire and you do not have to retire broke. Interesting. So we're going to tackle it. And that's not often that I even bring up anything that Dave talks about because it's not about rates of return, right? If you've listened to me for any length of time, you know that this is about cash flow and that for me, cash flow is king. Yes, we need to put our money somewhere where it's earning uninterrupted compound interest, but let's just break down a little bit the numbers of what he's talking about and why you are not going to be in a better position at $100 a month than you are currently. Thoughts before I keep going?
I am personally excited to jump into this because I think that it is really great to take something like this and actually break it down with real math because you can't really argue with facts. I mean, you can if you want to, I suppose, but it's not really an argument that you can win. So I think I'm excited to get into the actual numbers of this and to zoom out and look at the big picture of what other things impact this number that people aren't thinking about.
Mm-hmm. And Tarisa likes numbers, and I actually don't like numbers. I like the big picture. So Tarisa's way more excited about this than I am.
I like the numbers that prove the big picture. That's what makes me excited.
Yeah. So I just used a rate calculator. You guys can get this online at any interest rate calculator you can find online. So I just put this in a simple interest rate calculator and said, hey, if we save $100 a month for 480 months, because that is 40 years, we've got $1.176 million. What do we need to get every single year as a rate of return to end up with the $1.1 million. 12%. Tarisa obviously is more educated on what Dave says because she went out to his website. You said he has a calculator?
Mm-hmm. He's got a retirement calculator.
And he says you should be saving 50% of your income.
15, yeah.
Oh, 15%
Yeah,
of
15.
your income. Oh my. I thought you said 50. Okay. So 15% of your income. So I'm just looking at this and saying, well, what does that look like? Let's just talk about the average rate of return first. Let's go here first. So I'm going to share this stuff with you. So if you guys are not watching this on Spotify or on YouTube, you should go to Spotify or YouTube so you can kind of see what we are sharing. But if we just looked at a market return calculator, Dave apparently has this on his website too, same numbers. So Dave goes back to 1928. So Dave is looking at a 40-year period. So let's go back 40 years. Okay. We have an average return and an actual return. The average return that Dave is talking about, a 12% return. Well, the S&P with dividends was 11.69. Tarisa, do you know anybody that's in the S&P with dividends?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Most of your 401ks, your IRAs, your general retirement accounts, I have never heard of anybody doing, well, I lied. I've only heard of one person doing S&P with dividends, and that gentleman is extremely wealthy because dividends are important. Obviously, we like dividends.
Love them.
Right? But most people are in the Dow or the S&P 500 with no dividends. Ironically, Dave doesn't even have that on his little spreadsheet of investments. He does not look at the Dow and the S&P 500. He only has the S&P 500 with dividends. So, okay, 12%. He's not far off, 11.69. That's the average. But what is the actual? The actual return, if you would have had money in the market and you have ups and you have downs, what is your actual return? It is not anywhere close to 12. It is 9.9 or 5 and 6, as you can see. So are we close to 12?
We're a few off.
Right.
Which makes a big difference when you're talking about a ultimate goal retirement number. Like it might seem like a small percentage now, but in terms of how much you're putting in versus how much you're getting out, that's a big deal.
It's a huge deal. And the interruption of that money. And so we have money in an IRA or in a 401k, and that money is being interrupted. And I just want to share with you guys, like, look at, if you can look at the screen, every block is 5 years. We have never in the history of the market gone over 9 years. By year 10, there's a market crash. So every 10 years, there is going to be a market downturn. Here we've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We had 9 years of an up market with the S&P 500 from 2009 to 2017. And then we had a downturn. So when you hear people talk about, oh, we are always going to have, every 10 years, you can bank on having a downturn in the market. 100% you can. Because if you just pull up market history and you look at those 3 things, my calculator is not special. It's those exact same numbers online, no matter where you go. You're going to have a downturn. So your money's working, and then it starts working again and then down. And we don't know, is it going to happen every 3 years? Is it going to happen every 10 years? Is it going to happen every 5 years? Is it going to happen 10 years, then 2 years, then 5 years? We have no idea. But in his scenario, it's 12% every single year for 40 years.
I think this is why I have such an issue with like, I don't want to call it traditional financial planning, but just financial planning in general, because that's not what's happening. It just doesn't, it's never happened. It doesn't happen. It won't happen. Like it just is fundamentally flawed, I think, because it's like, you're not going
to not happen.
Yeah, exactly. Because you have so many external factors outside of your control. So 12% average every single year, to me, it's like, I want to know how much money am I putting in and how much money do I know I will have access to? Because your retirement on this path essentially is predicated on the fact that it's 12% every single year average, which we know is not going to happen. So that means my retirement is impacted by which year we are in the market. And how much control do I have over that?
And there might be a handful of people out there or more that say, but it can happen every year because I'm doing it. You're probably managing your money yourself as well. And so this is not those people, because this is the majority of people who are just saying, I'm going to contribute to my 401k and I'm going to hope for the best. I'm going to give money to a financial advisor on the street corner and I'm just going to hope that he does what he's supposed to do and he'll probably put it in some mutual fund and it's just going to sit there and it's going to go up and down. And it's people that are passive investors and they're investing with passive brokers. And we're not getting this return we should be getting. And so to say we're going to get 12, who is that? Who is getting that 12%? That's crazy.
Well, if you are, tell us so that we can...
Yeah. I would love to borrow against cash value. I would love to borrow against my cash value and put that money somewhere making 12% so that I can utilize that. But what's happening is if we're only making 7 or 8 and we can't use the money, we don't have access to it, right? So even if we made 12%, we don't have access to this money, but we also need to buy groceries and buy vehicles and send kids to college. And, we don't need to send kids to college, but we need to have groceries. We should have a vehicle. We need things in life. So what are we doing? We're putting it on a credit card and paying 20 to 30% on a credit card or 10 or 15% on a credit card. Does that offset what we're gaining even if we were making 12? And Dave says, don't put anything on a credit card, right? So if we don't put anything on a credit card and we're putting $100 a month into our 401k or our IRAs, then what? Do we have that money every single month? Because on the post, he did not disclose how much money this person is making. And so...
Well, my favorite part was you do not have to retire broke. Like, okay, Dave, let's consider the few things that we're not talking about here. And one of those big factors is inflation. Like the money is just not going to spend the same. And I think everyone collectively in like our economy today is feeling that. And Mary Jo's going to put some solid math behind it. So we're going to prove the keyboard warriors wrong with some 1 + 1, baby, equals 2.
So if you're 25 and you're making $50,000 a year, you're probably in about a 12% tax bracket. Let's just say 45% is going, or 46% is going to lifestyle. 32% is going to debt. Now, we always use 32 because Nelson said 32% of every dollar goes to debt service. That's either credit card interest, loan interest on vehicles, loan interest on mortgages, whatever. Now, if I retire at 65, how much do I want to live on? That's what this little 100% means. Well, if I'm making $50,000 today, that's a struggle. If you cannot admit that $50,000 today is a struggle, we have other things to talk about. If we are making $50,000 today, I can guarantee you are probably not living super comfortable and going on luxury cruises. Okay. So If you make $50,000 today, do you want to live on the same $50,000 when you're 65? I would want to. If you tell me you're going to need less at 65, okay. But I want to live like I'm living today. So now we retire at 65, but we have 4% inflation. So that $50,000 at 4% inflation is actually going to cost us $240,000. In 40 years, it is going to take $240,000 to live like we are living today on 50
per year.
per year. Yep. So his math is not incorrect. If we make 12%, if we take 4% every single year out of our IRA to live on 50,000, we're going to take today's $50,000, tomorrow's 240, and that's 12%. We're going to need to earn about 12%. He's not wrong. What he didn't tell us is what he's not talking about is inflation. And we're not dead at 65. We retired at 65. So now we die at 85. We're still going to need to earn another 8.2% every single year to get us to 85 so we don't run out of money. So instead of us having $1.1 million or 6 million of tomorrow's dollars, we're going to need 13 million of tomorrow's dollars to get us to death. 13 million. I'm only saving $100 a month.
This is exactly why I think like these kind of blanket statements are so dangerous, because it's like people think that they're fundamentally doing a great job by following this advice. And don't get me wrong, like I love Dave for the fact that he preaches to save money and, don't be irresponsible with debt and things like that. However, the fact that, you're almost $12 million off, you are essentially retiring broke with this plan because it's going to cover you maybe 4 years. And then what?
Because you have $1.1 million of today's dollars. But you actually need 6 million of tomorrow's dollars. And this is $50,000 a year. What happens when we need $100,000 or $200,000 a year to live? The problem with blanket statements, and as somebody on social media, I want to be careful because there are clips of my videos out there that I'm just saying something and then everybody loses their ever-loving mind because they are not smart enough to click on the link to watch the podcast, okay, to get the whole context of what's being said. So this apparently came out of a podcast from Dave. I did not know that until after the fact. And so if you listen to the whole podcast, I'm sure you would get more of the story. But to say we're going to need $1.1 million and neglect inflation, that's the piece that I never hear him talk about, is inflation. And it's not like I'm a dedicated follower. So I could be wrong, okay? But you guys have heard me say over and over, we're going to need today's young millennials and Gen Z are going to need $30 million to live on $100,000. And every single time somebody hears that, they lose their mind. We cannot save ourselves into retirement. What he is saying is you save yourself into retirement, you hang in there, you have the risk. He's an amazing businessman. Can we go somewhere so that we can look at what is he doing or what can we do? Can we buy a business? Can we start a business? What can we do to create cash flow and something that we might be able to sell later so that we have an asset to sell?
Yeah, I love that idea. And I just think that you're never going to regret like investing in yourself, investing in your education, because it inherently means you're going to have more control over the outcome, or you're going to have an increased skill set to go and then produce additional dollars.
And that's not for everybody.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. I mean, some people don't like that much control. I remember like having a lot of conversations with my husband about this. I'm like, I just don't understand how people spend most of their time working just to hand over their money into a place that they have no control over it just because they don't want to think about it. You know that working is necessary or earning money is necessary. So why would I so readily hand that over to someone who maybe doesn't have my best interest at heart with circumstances that I can't control? I can't control what the whole entire economy is doing or how much faith people have in the stock market. And that's not to say people haven't made a lot of money that way, but to me, it just makes me have way more questions than answers. Especially when you break it down like this, it's like, okay, if you factor in inflation, that's just not nearly enough money. It's just not. So what are you going to do to put yourself in a position where you can have cash flow or have an asset that also increases with inflation?
And that cash flow, creating that cash flow and that asset is hard. And not everybody wants to do that. My husband does not want to own a business. No way, shape, or form about it. He hates our rental properties. He does not like it. He loves to not have the responsibility of any of it when he comes home, right? Will he do it? Yes. He is a great employee, and he knows I talk about this all the time. This is no big surprise to him. He likes to punch a clock. He likes to go in. He works his butt off. He is not texting me during the day. Okay. He works when he goes to work. He's like the star employee. But when he is done, he's done. He doesn't want to have to run a business. He does not like it when he has an upset client. He doesn't like confrontation. It's not for everybody. And so if cash flow is not for you because you don't want to run a business, that's fine. But you need to be prepared with these numbers so you can see you're not going to have enough. So you either put more away, because I was saving 10% in my example. If you look back, you can see there's a little green at the bottom, it's 10%. So that's me saving 10%. Most people out there are not saving 10%. Most people are saving 3% and thinking they're going to have enough for retirement. There's no way you're going to have $1 million of today's dollars, much less $1 million of tomorrow's dollars. And so if you are not that person that wants to have a cash flowing asset, that wants to run a business, that's okay. You just need to start saving more money. And you should probably put it in a tool that does not have interrupted growth. You might want to put it in something that has some steady growth to it. So when you do buy the car, when you do send the kids to college, when you do put the braces on the kids, when you do all those things, you're not interrupting the growth of your money. But how are you going to save 20, 30% of your income and still be able to afford all of those things?
Well, especially if it's in a place where you can't touch it.
Right. You're not. Because that's where they're telling you to put it, is a place you can't touch it.
Exactly.
He's not incorrect with his numbers. He's right. You're going to need a 12% rate of return. What we're not talking about in the finance world as a whole, this isn't just a Dave issue. He's just the lucky guy that made the comment I found. In the financial world in general, the problem is that we don't talk about inflation.
Yeah, you have to look at the whole pie. I think this just shines light on the piece that looks enticing, but you don't know it's been sitting out all day and maybe a few flies have touched it. It's like you got to look at the whole situation to see if this is something that you want to get yourself into.
And go online, find an interest rate calculator, find a future value calculator that'll show you or even go back and go, hey, 40 years ago, how much did a dollar buy us? What was a dollar worth 40 years ago compared to today? Are we at 4% inflation on average, right? Because you can look at years like the vid and we were at 15% inflation. True inflation. What is the cost of those Oreos? It's not 4% higher. So
yeah, it's a lot more than that.
Yeah, we can't just bank on that, expecting that to be the end all, be all. Anything else you would like to add?
No, this was super fun. And I think if anything, hopefully it just gets anyone listening thinking about, how they want to be proactive about this situation and about their future. Because I think that's ultimately what Mary Jo and I are having this conversation for. It's like, okay, well, let's see how this actually plays out for somebody. And is that a future you're excited to live into? Because if it isn't, then it means that it's probably better to consider doing something different.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And at some point, we will do a podcast on actual versus average and what the actual returns look like in a cash flow environment. Like when we're retired, what actually happens with our investment versus what they show us is going to happen when we talk about average. The first time I saw that, it was extremely eye-opening. I was like, what? We
Because you
lost
can
our
lose
money.
money. Yeah, you can lose money and still have a positive average rate of return. A lot of people don't know that.
Mm-hmm. And I think that that's important. I don't talk a lot about retirement because I don't necessarily believe in retirement. I think that we should have income coming in our whole life. We could slow down. But as Nelson said, where in the Bible does it talk about retirement? And he's not wrong, right? So I don't ever foresee myself retiring. I will slow down, but I don't ever see myself retiring. And so I'm just not going to do well eating bonbons on a beach. I hate beaches. No, not
Eating
gonna happen.
bonbons on a beach.
Not gonna happen. I take 2 days off and I am losing my mind. But I think that it is important to have the conversation because people out there really, really do believe that $1 million is going to be enough. I had a guy comment on one of my posts that they have $1 million right now and I'm an idiot because they have $1 million and they're retired just fine. And that's awesome. But you're retired today on $1 million. I'm not talking about today. I'm talking about $1 million in 20, 30, 40 years from now. And so even $1 million today, just basic math. If you live on $100,000, that's 10 years without taxes.
Without taxes, without inflation, and
Right.
without any market downturns.
Right.
It's like, if like your financial environment never changed, sure, that could get you 10 years. But that's the thing that it's like people are trying to overlay this very dynamic thing on something that is plain, like it has no other factors to consider. And it's like, that's just not, it's fundamentally not the case.
Yeah. And we have to
So
look
Mary
at
Jo's very smart.
what were pensions? It was 30 and out because pensions were put into annuities and people knew exactly what they were going to get and they retired with a pension. And today we're not retiring with pensions because pensions are being invested into the market and there's ups and there's downs and pension managers are super damn surprised when the market crashes. Oh, we didn't expect that. Why? Why didn't you expect it? When every 10 years you can guarantee a crash, at least every 10 years. Why was that not expected? First day on the job? Like, haven't been through this more than once? It's crazy to me. Oh, you don't know how to look at history? I mean, like, why? How is that okay? That's the piece I don't understand is how is that okay? And how do we buy into that?
Well, I think this is a fun idea that I think about sometimes to think this is like a weird filter that I do, but it's like if you took like an alien and dropped him on planet Earth and you were like, okay, does this make sense? And they saw all of the factors like, okay, there's market ups and downs. I can put in money and lose money and have a positive average rate of return. And then it needs to be adjusted for inflation and for income taxes because I don't know who's going to be the president in office and what idea is out there that's going to have someone in my pocket at the time I retire. It's like, if you looked at all those things together and still decided that it was a good idea, considering how many factors you don't have control over, I think that alien would say, this doesn't seem like the best idea.
That alien would be like, I'm going back to my world. This is insane.
The alien
And
would be
y'all are
like,
buying into that?
yeah.
And you think we're the crazy ones and you're scared of us?
Right. He's like, I think I'm going to go back to my home planet now. But anyways, that's just like, it's like, what it does is it strips away everything we've been taught our whole lives. Like I personally believe that like if you don't know what you're doing in the market, you're gambling, right? Some people know what they're doing and they can make a lot of money that way, and that's fantastic. But if you're just handing money over without considering those things, I would really encourage you to ask yourself the questions to make sure that doing this action is going to get you where you want to go. Because the alien is saying no. It's not a good idea.
Might have to talk about Tris's visit with the alien at some point.
It's so random. I'm so sorry. It's just so sorry for that short, small window into my brain, but there you go.
Funny. All right. Well, if you guys, you know the routine, comments, questions, concerns, email us, Mary Jo at Without the Bank or Tarisa at Without the Bank, and we will answer you. Otherwise, grab the book, set up your appointment, and we'll see you in the next podcast.